You did not marry your wives. You married your girlfriends. Welcome back to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their life through full impact mindfulness. If you have nowhere else to go, and if you're welcome nowhere else, you're always welcome here. And the only entrance requirements are the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist, and today I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Hello, Jim. Good to be back on the show with you once again.
Yes, it is. We're going to have some guests lined up in the next few weeks. However, it's always nice to just have a chat.
It's always nice to just kind of like get back to basics a little bit on these, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And today, Mike, I'd like to revisit one of my most, it's a favorite topic, a frustrating topic, and it makes me angry topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's the empowerment or the disempowerment of women.
Absolutely.
So just giving a few facts, young girls start to lose their self-concept and self-esteem around the age of 9 years old. I did not make this up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's when the girls become more influenced by fashion. They're more influenced by media influencers. They're more influenced by social media, telling them what they should be rather than what they are,
mm-hmm.
to inventory their gifts, talents, and abilities. And if you look at all these influencers, if you look at these models in these magazines, that's filtered reality. Very few people look like that. In a survey, fashion models are on the average 35% underweight. So thin is supposed to equate to beautiful, which is a direct 180 from the early 1900s, late 1800s, where women who had a more full-rounded figure that was the ideal. Okay, so these young girls are subject to a whole lot of pressure to look good and to be thin. And when young girls are around the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that's when they're going into puberty. And that's when they naturally gain some excess body fat because of that change. So there's these poor young girls trying to look like somebody, a 25-year-old model that hasn't eaten anything but lettuce in a month.
And they're fighting the natural way of things, right? They're fighting. Their body is telling them to do a certain thing, and they're trying to push back on it, which can create even bigger issues.
Create serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at women's health magazines, and if you look at men's health magazines, there's on the average of 11 and a half more times weight loss advertisements in women's magazine than there are in men.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like men have to try that hard, do they?
No, there's a lower expectation on it, isn't there?
Yes, there most certainly is.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've heard this phrase, dad bod.
Mm-hmm.
But women are expected to look like they were when they were 22 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've read a number of articles that females, particularly actresses in Hollywood, with very few exceptions, describe themselves as becoming invisible as they near 50.
Mm-hmm.
That no one wants to cast them.
Right.
Everyone wants to cast these young, fresh-look, blue-eyed blondes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and these young girls come in and tell me that they're, I always say, what's your own self-image? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? And most of the time they have very poor, they disparage themselves. They don't like their bodies because they're comparing them to someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked young ladies that, I said, is that the mirror telling you that? They said, no. I said, who's telling you that? Myself. Well, where's that voice coming from? So is it coming from influencers? Is it coming from advertisements? Is it coming from peers? Is it coming from men? Or is it coming from more than likely all the above? Okay. And I think one of the fathers, I'm hoping out there, fathers, tend to more empower your girls, empower your young daughters
Hmm.
to be comfortable with their own voice, to be comfortable with their own bodies, and understanding that they're important. So most fathers refer to their daughters as princesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did when my daughter was young too. Still, I could still say that today. But however, I don't, because when you let's look at a Disney princess, okay,
Yes.
or a princess in the fairy tales. Well, what do you think of?
Oh, the just gorgeous, beautiful perfection, kind of thing. More of that, idealism, right?
Yes, a dainty little thing dressed in a flowing gown, hair perfect,
Hmm.
teeth perfect, everything perfect. And when I think of fairy tales, I think of fairy princesses, and I think of princesses locked in towers,
Hmm.
okay, waiting for some strong knight to come and save them.
Damsels in distress.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are disempowering women on a daily basis. Now, Mike, um, generally what I ask young ladies, because most women now that are single that are on dating websites,
Hmm.
and to be on a dating website, you have
Yeah.
to put up a profile.
Yep.
So when you put up a profile, it's generally you put your absolutely most stunning photographs up there, don't you?
Hmm.
Okay, you don't put a photograph on there 15 minutes after you get out of bed.
Wouldn't it be interesting to do the like, here's the good photograph, and then here's the what I actually look like every day? You know what I mean? Like we have a friend that you and I both know that actually has done modeling, right, and has all these fantastic pictures, and I love. And I don't know, like if she was on dating profiles, putting this is what I look like this day. This and like I've traveled with her. I know what she looks like when she gets out of bed. This is me. This is this is both sides of the coin. This is what you're getting into, kind of thing. And I think that would be more true, I think, right?
Well, I think that there's many people who are quite disappointed when they show up in person to
Hmm.
see this person.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So most people, even guys, they put out what they have to offer. Well,
Yes.
I can't say that because guys usually put out what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for this. Now, girls, women usually put out what they have to offer.
Hmm.
Okay. It's like being at some type of a market. But generally, what I ask young ladies to not make a profile of what they have to offer. I have them make a profile, and it's a good validation experience. I have them put out a profile on what it requirements it takes to be with them.
And that I think that's a good thing because it does kind of flip the expectation, and the people that would scare away, you probably don't want to be dealing with anyways.
Absolutely. What's the requirements it takes to be with me? And the very first one I did a number of years ago, uh, I asked this young lady what the requirements it took to be with her. She thought it was quite a novel idea.
Hmm.
And it took her about 3 weeks, but she wrote 3 pages of it.
Oh, wow.
And the first requirement she put on there was he has to respect his mother. And I actually stood up and I says, "Now you have my attention."
Hmm.
I thought that was quite meaningful.
That's good.
Yes. So when we have that, then we have something going on. Uh, so everyone out there, if females in this audience or males in this audience, as an exercise, I'd like you to put together the requirements that it takes to be with you, both as a romantic interest and as a friend. And if you'd care to send any of them to us anonymous, we'd be glad to look them over. And if you would be kind enough and agree, we could put them out there.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think it's a good call to action. Yeah, let us know what are your requirements, and we would love to see what your example is, how you interpret this.
yes, and as for listeners of this program, we're all about self concept. We're all about self esteem. We're all about identity formation. We're all about empowerment. These powerful words I have tattooed on my arms. I choose. I am. I didn't put those on as just a lapse in reason.
Hmm.
Okay, I've had plenty of lapses in reason, but those aren't some of them. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, with this romantic interest you have, am I being understood?
Hmm.
Am I being listened to? Not put the chair in a corner, but listened to without criticism or suggestions. Am I being respected? Am I being treated as an equal? Am I be given the freedom to decide? And am I be given the benefit of the doubt?
Hmm.
And if you're not able to answer those questions in a positive manner, I really have to ask you, why do you continue to try to grow daisies in a sandbox? Move on. There are a number of people that I ask always. Uh, I ask them, given everything that you know about this individual, all their quirks, all their personality, attributes, everything, and if you have children, leave them out of the picture if you can be objective. Would you marry them again today?
Hmm.
I hear 80% no.
Wow.
80% I hear no. So, you guys out there, I want to tell you something. You did not marry your wives, you married your girlfriends. So, my strong suggestion is to make your partner your girlfriend again. Okay? Or for those of our friends who have alternate lifestyles, make that partner your boyfriend. Make them your girlfriend again. Make them feel wanted.
Hmm.
Give
Hmm.
them all those emotional concerns being understood, respected, and all those. If anybody would like a list of those, please let us know. We'll be glad to send them out to you because that's important. Now, Mike, getting back to the environment of today,
Hmm.
and we seem to have regressed back to I don't know, ancient times. I don't know, medieval times. Don't know. Where women are viewed more as second class citizens, women are viewed more as an accompaniment.
Hmm. I think you can only go back 100 years to see that, honestly.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. So, what really disgusts me is I see some signs of these young men on these campuses saying, "Your body, my choice." They're saying that, and unfortunately, these Cro-Magnons are actually believing that. Now, they didn't make this up themselves. Okay. They're being influenced by many people who get away with all of these misappropriations and mistreatment of women. Many of them. And many of them in caught. Many of them have charges against them. Particularly, there are some rather famous people that have that. Okay. So I understand that there's an act going through Congress now. It's been voted on by the House of Representatives. It's called the SAVE Act. Mike, are you familiar with that?
I am because I am on social media, so a lot of people have been talking about it, and I've been becoming familiar with it.
So why don't you tell us what you know?
My interpretation of the bill, and is from what I've been reading on it, is that it is going to require for voter registration. So if you're already voting, I think that you're good with it. But anybody new voting that has will need to provide documents that match their full name with their current ID or something like that, which becomes an issue because now you have run into an issue where I remember my wife had to dig up the birth certificate or order it and pay for it and all that kind of thing in order to get the real ID for our driver's license here in Pennsylvania, which is a whole thing. So a lot of people would have to go through the same process if they have been on the bare minimum. Obviously, there's other alternative like reasons for a lot of the name changes to happen. But obviously, if you have the classic, you got married and took your husband's name in some fashion, you now have to go through this process if you then become somebody who wants to register for voting for whatever reason. So this becomes a barrier. And they're like, well, you can use a passport and you can use this and you can use this. A passport is costly and takes time, and it's taking longer time and becoming more difficult these days, on top of just simply like finding your birth certificate, or what if you're not from this country. So now you have a barrier on a barrier for this, and this, as we said, mostly affects women who take their husband's name in marriage, amongst others. So this turns into a disenfranchisement, am I saying,
Yes.
of women to not be able to vote, taking effectively, not directly but effectively, the right to vote, or difficulty to vote, and for something that's supposed to be a right, it's not. You're putting up walls, and where there doesn't seem to need to be a wall. So again, I have not heard the other side of the argument about why we need this. I think it's something to relate to immigrants attempting to vote, which also is like the way they described it does not appear to actually apply fundamentally. So they're kind of creating a solution for a problem that almost doesn't exist, is my understanding of this situation.
It's a blatant voter repression.
That's
Blatant.
And that's the other way you can say it. Yes.
So who's the class of Americans that this affects most?
Women.
Women,
Mhm.
of course. And mainly women tend to vote in one particular party affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Is that a fact? Is that
women generally.
or Democrats?
Women generally are more liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they have children to raise. They're with the things. They're not having wearing their man's hats. Okay, so naturally, who would you want to repress? The people who would have more of a tendency to vote liberal, and what was goes through. They can challenge anybody, Mike. Anyone that comes in that they feel, usually it's a person of color, and they look at them and they say, "You're bringing your birth certificate. Your birth certificate doesn't match your registration name."
I think I forgot one aspect of this that I did read that goes along with it. Is also going to allow them to. I know this is something that my wife goes through this. They were going through to purge voter rolls of like old, moved people, things like that. Like, it's actually a process. It's a legitimate process. But because of this, they will now have the right to purge the voter rolls of anybody who does not meet those standards that they've set up in this act. And the stated need for this act is to eliminate non-citizen voting. But of course, this is a side effect of it. And that becomes a problem. And the true meaning of this is now suspect.
Well, you always have to pick a reason to declare a war.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's throughout history, despots, megalomaniacs, anarchists, terrorists, or I consider empire tyrants. They always had to pick. They didn't want to be perceived as just aggression. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Putin's invasion of Ukraine. He said because there was a lot of Nazis in Ukraine.
Oh, did he?
The president of Ukraine is a Jew. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So how many Nazis are in Ukraine? As many as Putin wants to believe there be. So that justified his attack. Okay? And this goes on through history. So let's look at the attack on the alternate lifestyles. Let's look at attack on gay people. Let's look at attack on transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. We have to legitimize our war against them, the most marginalized, the most underrepresented, and the people who have no voice at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, let's call them predators.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's just call them predators.
Yeah.
So they call that, and then they declare
and
war.
nothing you can nothing you can wholly disprove. Other than just like, no, I'm not. Like it's just an attack, and you say it enough, and it becomes true. And it's very, very unfortunate. So, and you talk about I think there's a call for centralisms. Like, we need to stop. Like, the left needs to stop over defending the trans community and everything like that, because that's what's making them lose elections. It was like, well, they're not the ones starting the conversation. Like, it's such a minuscule thing, and they should be left alone. But why am I made to care about this? Because somebody made you care about this by attacking them. You know what I mean? Which makes it louder on the one side, which makes it look like they're over supporting them. And most people don't understand the matter, to create a whole thing over, two kids in a state that want to play a sport of a different gender.
One of the prime tenets of therapy that we've had ingrained into our brains in therapy school is do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
Do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as someone is not doing intentional harm to anyone or anything, then they should have freedom to do as they choose.
Absolutely.
After all, it's liberty and justice for all, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? But what defines all?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a new definition.
Exactly.
Just like lies became alternate facts.
And this doesn't only affect those in the trans community. This affects friends. I have friends of ours that, just because their stature, walk into a women's bathroom and get yelled at and saying they're in the wrong bathroom, and they're not. There's no reason for them to be in a different bathroom. Let's put it this way. So like this is a growing effect. It emboldens people that have these strange ideas, and based on belief and not facts, magical thinking, if you will. And it becomes very sad and dangerous for more people than those initially victimized.
Yes, it most does. So we recently put out a short 2-minute position podcast on fishing without bait, with which the basic thesis of it is this is all inclusive, never exclusive. Everyone's welcome here. So if you haven't heard that podcast, we can link that 2-minute podcast to this one. And everyone out there, be safe. And however, when someone wants to argue with you, you believe that something's wrong, ask them for the facts.
Yeah.
Chances are they don't have any.
Yeah.
All righty. So at the end of every podcast, we give a free prescription, fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all of us are free, none of us are free. Namaste, my friends.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast.
If you're interested in flying the colors of fishing without bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at Sorgatron.